Are you tired of feeling almost fluent? You know, you can build these amazing sentences, you've got the vocabulary, but then bam,
Hmm.
you just stop cold over tiny words like at, or I mean, should I use the here?
Hmm.
That little hesitation, that, internal battle over a tiny word,
Yeah.
that's what trips up so many learners.
It really is. And those small mistakes, the little structural hiccups with prepositions or articles, they they carry this huge emotional weight, don't they? They
Yeah.
chip away at your confidence. When you're worrying, oh, did I just say I am embarrassing when I actually meant I am embarrassed? That moment of panic, it
Yeah.
just slows everything down.
Right.
And that's the real enemy of fluency, that hesitation.
Absolutely. And we hear it all the time, that objection. I just don't have enough time. How can I memorize every single rule? Learners feel completely overwhelmed, like they're looking at this endless mountain of exceptions.
But, that's exactly what we're cutting through in this deep dive.
Hmm.
We've looked at these really comprehensive guides you shared. They're basically the blueprints, the DNA,
Yeah.
of natural fluent conversation.
Okay.
And we're pulling out the absolute key pillars, the things that build confidence fastest.
Yeah.
We're focusing on where systematic logic actually wins out over what looks like randomness.
So the idea is, if you master just these few key areas.
Exactly. Maybe 4 or 5 core structural points. Your whole ability to communicate just, well, it levels up instantly because you start to lose that fear of making those small but really critical errors.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our sources, they're like detailed roadmaps for English structure, right?
Yeah.
Covering everything from those tiny prepositions we mentioned,
At in, on.
all the way to, phrasing that makes you sound less like you're reading a textbook and more like, well, like you actually speak the language.
Yeah.
So our mission today is pretty clear. Find the fastest, most effective shortcut to speaking English with real confidence, but grounded in, solid grammatical understanding.
Okay, we absolutely have to start with those tiny giants. The words that pop up everywhere and cause, like, way more trouble than they should, prepositions,
Yeah.
especially time and place, at, in, and on.
Yep.
They feel so random sometimes. But you're saying the sources show there's a system, like a logic behind it?
There really is. And it's surprisingly consistent once you see it. When you look across all the examples in the sources, this pattern emerges. It's about precision versus volume. Or maybe think of it like zooming in and out geometrically.
Okay, geometry. I like that. Let's start with place. How does that zooming in and out work for location?
Right. Think of that as maximum precision. It's the most zoomed in view. It points to a specific spot, a fixed location on a map.
Like the example in the source, waiting at the bus stop? Exactly. You're naming that precise spot. Or the party is at Anna's house. You're identifying that specific address, that point. It's your highest level of specificity for location.
Okay, so at is the pinpoint. Then we zoom out a bit to on. I always think of on for surfaces.
That's exactly right. On means contact with a surface, or maybe being positioned along a line. The simple examples are best. The cat is on the bed, that's a surface. A picture is on the wall, a vertical surface.
Okay.
And interestingly, it even applies to things like newspapers. The source said the article was on the newspaper. It implies it's printed right there on the physical surface.
And what I find fascinating, and where I think learners get stuck, is how that surface or line idea gets used more abstractly.
Yes, it connects. The source specifically mentioned surfing on the internet. You're kind of moving along a metaphorical surface or line, right? The network. Or if you're traveling, you're on a road, on a train, on a ship, you're situated on or moving along something.
So at is the point, on is the surface or line. Then in must be the widest view, like inside something, enclosure or volume.
Precisely. It means something is contained within something else. A pen in my pocket, the pen is inside the volume of the pocket.
Right.
Or a large dog in his house. The dog's inside
Yeah.
the volume of the house. And this works even for really big areas. The source mentioned a house in Nantrang. It's enclosed within the city's boundaries. That's your most zoomed out view for location. Enclosed within.
That framework point, surface line, volume area in, that actually makes space much, much clearer. Okay. Now, does this same logic apply to time? Because at, in, and on mess people up with time just as much. Is it the same hierarchy?
It absolutely is. And this is where the system, really shows its strength. It keeps its identity as the most precise point. So we use it for clock times, specific moments.
At 8:30, at midnight.
Exactly. Or sometimes at the weekend, depending on the region. Then on defines that specific line, which for time means days and specific dates.
Like on Fridays or on the 13th of June?
Perfect. And then in is still the big container, the volume of time. Months, years, centuries, long periods.
In the morning in 2005 in the 18th century.
Right.
Okay, but here's a classic confusion point. Why do we say in the morning, but at 8:30? Morning is a time, right? Why isn't it at morning?
Good question. It's because the morning is treated conceptually as a container of time. It's a period. It has duration. You are in that period.
Okay.
But when you specify 8:30, you're naming a single precise point at that moment on the timeline. It's the same logic for seasons, actually.
Yeah.
You're in the summer of the container, but maybe something happens at dawn, the precise point.
Wow.
So recognizing that point line volume idea for both space and time, that's a huge structural unlock. It really is.
I totally agree. That framework alone is worth the price of admission. Okay, let's move on. The article dilemma, A, N, the, E, or nothing at all. Getting these right, it just instantly makes your speech sound clearer, more specific, more, well, right.
Yeah, articles are all about defining specificity.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to start with the absolute basics. Countable versus uncountable nouns. The number one rule, the thing learners need to internalize first, is that singular countable nouns cannot stand alone. They need an article or, some other determiner like my or this.
Right, yeah.
The source is really clear on this. If you're talking about one thing you can count, it needs like a passport to be in the sentence.
So you can't just say, I need pen. It has to be, I need a pen. Or maybe, I need the pen.
Exactly. But then, of course, it changes when you talk generally using plural countable nouns.
Like, I like apples. No article needed there if you mean apples in general.
Right. Or, and this is where it gets more confusing, with uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns, they're treated as these sort of masses or concepts, and they never ever take I or an.
Okay, this needs a bit more focus. Because learners often try to count things or make them plural when native speakers treat them as just stuff, concepts. Can you give us some of those classic, tricky, uncountable nouns from the sources?
Oh, definitely. These are the ones that cause the most grief, often because they are countable in other languages. Things like information, advice, furniture, luggage, research, bread, knowledge, even equipment.
Right, so you can't say, I got an advice.
Never. You have to say, I got advice, or if you really need to quantify it, I got a piece of advice.
That shift in thinking is crucial, isn't it? Realizing advice isn't a thing you count, but a mass, a concept.
It is. Once you grasp that, you stop trying to count it.
Oh, okay.
Now, the big one. The champion of confusion. Knowing when to drop the. Because sometimes using the sounds weirdly formal, or it changes the meaning, or it just sounds plain wrong.
And the sources pointed out some key areas where leaving out the is vital for sounding natural. The first one seems pretty easy, meals.
Yes, when you're talking about the idea of the meal, not a specific plate of food sitting in front of you, you ask, what did you have for breakfast? Not for the breakfast.
Right, same for lunch, dinner, supper, just the meal name.
Exactly.
Okay, the second category is huge, though, and needs a closer look. Institutions, this whole purpose versus physical building thing.
This is such a vital distinction. It unlocks so much nuance. When you talk about the reason an institution exists, its purpose, you drop the,
So you go to work.
meaning for the purpose of doing your job, earning money. You're in a hospital.
As a patient for treatment.
Right. Or you go to school, go to university, go to church,
Mm.
for the purpose of learning, studying, worshiping.
The second you add the, you're suddenly talking about the actual building, the physical place.
Precisely. If I say, my uncle is in prison, he's an inmate, he's there for the purpose of incarceration.
Okay.
But if I say, my uncle works at the prison, now I mean the physical building where he's employed,
Right.
maybe as a guard. Or if a parent says, I'm going to the school, they probably mean the building maybe for a meeting or to pick up their child, not to be a student.
Wow. That tiny word the completely changes the meaning and saves a lot of potential confusion. And the source mentioned this applies to university, church, court too. Same principle.
Same principle holds. Attending for the main purpose, drop the article, referring to the specific building, use the, like waiting outside the university or admiring the architecture of the church.
Got it. Okay, another big category, geography. This seems complicated too.
It has rules. While those huge bodies of water, oceans, seas, rivers, canals, they nearly always need the.
The Atlantic, the Nile, the Suez Canal.
Right. But most big land features or unique places usually don't take the. We just say Mount Everest or Lake Superior, not the Mount Everest.
Okay, I think I see a pattern again. Like, if it's a single massive landform like a mountain or a lake, generally no the, But if it's water that flows, or maybe a group of things like islands or mountain ranges.
That you usually use the they.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like the Maldives or the Alps, the Rocky Mountains.
Makes sense. And finally, the sources mention superlatives.
Ah, yes. When something is unique, or clearly the most something, the is absolutely required. You have to say, what's the longest river in Europe? Or, he is the best student in the class.
Because there's only one longest or best in that context.
Precisely. It identifies that specific one.
Okay, so if prepositions handle space, verb structures are all about time. And, the single biggest giveaway, the mistake that really separates advanced learners from truly fluent speakers, it seems to be around describing the past. Specifically, present perfect, I have done, versus past simple, I did.
Oh, absolutely crucial.
Nailing this distinction feels like the real test of chronological accuracy. Get it wrong, and, well, your fluency just sounds off.
It does. And the golden rule, the one thing our source material hammered home, is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
You absolutely cannot use the present perfect, I have done, if you are talking about a finished time. This is the #1 hurdle, I think, for speakers whose own languages don't draw this line so sharply.
Let's dig into that rule. What counts as a finished time? What does that mean exactly?
Okay, a finished time is any time marker that is clearly over, completely done. It could be super specific, like 8 o'clock yesterday, or a general period that's finished, like at last week, 10 minutes ago, in 1999. If you use any of those finished time markers in your sentence, you must use a past tense. The classic learner mistake is saying something like, I have sold my car yesterday.
Yeah, that sounds awkward.
Deeply awkward. It has to be. I sold my car yesterday. The action is finished. The time frame yesterday is finished. Past simple. End of story.
Okay, so when do we use the present perfect then? It must have some link to now, right? Or the time has to be still open.
Exactly that. The present perfect always builds a bridge between a past action and the present moment. It focuses either on the result of that past action that's relevant now,
Okay.
or it's used because the time period itself is actually still going on. Like if you say today or this month or since I woke up, those periods aren't finished yet.
Can you give us a really clear example from the sources that shows that result idea?
Yeah, okay, think about this. If I ask, where is Helen, and you reply, Helen has gone to New York, what did that usually imply?
She's probably still there now.
Exactly. The result of her action, going, is her current state, being absent, being in New York. Now, contrast that with the other example from the source. Helen went to New York for a holiday, but she's back home in London now.
Ah, so her going was a finished trip. It happened in the past.
Right. We use the simple past, went, because we're talking about a completed episode in a finished time period, her holiday.
Yeah.
That past action led to her current state, being back, but the focus of went is on the completed past event.
I see. So present perfect keeps the focus on the current relevance or result, while past simple locks the action firmly in a finished past time frame. It takes discipline to keep track of that distinction.
It does. You constantly have to ask yourself, is the time I'm referring to completely over? If yes, past simple. Every single time.
Okay, let's shift to ongoing life. Habits, things happening now. These need different structures too, right? Present continuous versus present simple.
Yep. For actions that are temporary or happening right around the moment we're speaking, we use the present continuous. I am doing.
The tense of what's happening right now.
Exactly. Or things happening around now that are temporary, like I'm staying with friends until I find my own place. It can also describe temporary trends. The company is losing money this quarter. It's current, possibly temporary.
And this is really different from the present simple, I do, which is more about facts, habits, things that are generally true.
Precisely. Present simple is for genuine habits, things that happen regularly or permanent facts. It doesn't matter if it's happening this exact second. If I say, I read comic books on Saturdays, that's a regular habit, part of my routine.
Even if it's Monday now, you'd still use present simple to describe the habit.
Right. You wouldn't say, I am reading comic books on Saturdays, unless you meant something very unusual, like maybe this Saturday specifically is different. For regular habits, it's present simple.
Okay, good distinction. Now, moving on from basic tenses, modals, those incredibly useful little auxiliary verbs can, could, must, might, should. They're essential for expressing things like possibility, necessity, obligation, without needing long, clunky explanations.
Modals are fantastic. They let you put a little tag on your statement indicating your level of certainty. For deduction, think must for high certainty and may or might for lower certainty.
So if someone just passed a difficult exam, you'd say,
Wow, you must be very pleased. You're expressing strong certainty based on the evidence, passing the exam.
okay. But if, say, a colleague isn't answering their phone, I wouldn't use must then. I'm not that certain.
Exactly. You'd speculate with lower certainty. You might be having lunch. Or maybe she may be in a meeting. The listener instantly understands your confidence level just from that one modal verb.
Modals also control politeness, don't they? Especially in requests. That's so important for social fluency.
Absolutely. Just saying, can you wait a moment is okay, it's functional. But for requests, could often sounds much better. It's softer, more polite.
And the sources had a tip for, like, maximum politeness.
They did. If you really want to be courteous, you often frame the request indirectly, maybe starting with, do you think? And even then, could usually sounds more polite than can. The source specifically recommended, do you think you could take me to the airport? Over, do you think you can?
Why is that?
It just creates a little more distance, makes the request feel less like a demand and more like a gentle inquiry about possibility.
That's really subtle stuff, advanced application, which leads us perfectly into probably the most complex bit of modals, talking about the past, expressing regret or relief about past choices. Specifically, needn't have versus could have.
Ah, yes. This is pure advanced fluency territory. Getting this right allows for incredible precision about past events you can't change. Needn't have means you did something, but looking back, it wasn't necessary.
Okay, action performed but unnecessary.
Right, and could have means you had the option to do something, but you didn't take that option.
Option available but not taken. Okay, let's use that situation from the source material to make it concrete. Someone rushes for a train, maybe panics a bit, but then the train is delayed anyway.
Right, so they did the action,
Right.
rushed, but it turned out to be unnecessary because they missed the crucial information. Train delayed. The source prompted us with the internal thought. Why did you rush? Why didn't you take your time?
So how do you combine those ideas to express that feeling perfectly, that mix of maybe frustration and relief?
You combine them using the modals. You'd say to your friend or think to yourself, you needn't have rushed. The rushing you did was ultimately unnecessary. You
Yeah.
could have taken your time because that slower, calmer option was available, but you didn't choose it.
Wow.
Mastering that difference, needn't have unnecessary action done versus could have available option ignored. That's a real sign of structural mastery.
Okay, we've laid the groundwork with prepositions, sorted out time with tenses and modals. Now let's get into the things that really define natural, flowing conversational English. Phrasal verbs. You know, if you only use single formal verbs all the time, you can sound a bit stiff, maybe academic.
Definitely. Phrasal verbs look up, set up, drop out, get on. They're the lifeblood of everyday conversation. They often replace those longer, maybe Latin-based words and make speech more efficient, more natural sounding.
But they come with that tricky structural rule about where the object goes, right? Separability, that trips everyone up.
It does. The rule itself isn't that complex, but the mistake learners make is forgetting it when a pronoun enters the picture.
Okay, let's hammer this down. The separability rule, especially with pronouns like it, them, him, her.
Right. If the object is a pronoun, it must squeeze in between the verb and the particle, the little preposition bit. If the object is a full noun, you usually have a choice. You can say turn the light on or turn on the light. Both are fine.
But if the light becomes it,
Then you have to say turn it on. Only one option.
you can never say turn on it.
Never. That sounds instantly wrong, really jarring. It's often a dead giveaway that someone's maybe translating directly from their first language, one that doesn't have this specific rule.
Okay, so the pronoun forces the separation.
It forces it. Obligatory separation. And this applies to hundreds of common phrasal verbs. Think about put off, meaning to delay or postpone. You can put off the meeting or put the meeting off.
But if the meeting is it,
You must put it off.
got it. Let's run through a few more really common ones, maybe grouped by meaning like the sources did, just to help listeners integrate them.
Good idea. Okay, for continuing something, we have go on. Like, we can't go on living like this. To talk about progress or relationships, we use get on. She's getting on very well with her new project. That's progress. Or we all get on really well together. That's about relationships.
Okay, and what about those really practical ones for daily life? Running out of things, starting things.
Yeah, vital ones. For finishing a supply, I was afraid we'd run out of petrol. For starting or creating, maybe set up a business or set up a meeting or make up a story or make up after an argument. And for stopping something, drop out of a course.
And the key is, if you can swap out the formal verb, like establish, for the phrasal verb set up, you instantly sound more conversational.
Instantly. It's about choosing the right register.
Okay, building on that natural flow, let's tackle verb patterns. This is another minefield. After certain verbs, should the next verb be in the ing form, gerund, or should it be to plus infinitive? It feels random, but you're saying it's not. It follows patterns.
It absolutely follows patterns, fixed patterns, based on the meaning of that first main verb. You have verbs that are about, say, avoiding something, suggesting something, denying something. These generally need the ing form afterwards. They treat the following action almost like a noun, a concept.
Can you give an example?
Sure. He tried to avoid answering my question.
Mm-hmm.
The verb avoid takes ing, or she suggested going away for the weekend, suggest takes ing. Others in this group are verbs like finish, mind, postpone, admit, enjoy. You just learn the group.
Okay, so that's one group. Then there's another group of verbs that usually take to plus infinitive. Verbs about wanting, expecting, deciding.
Exactly. Verbs expressing intent, expectation, permission, desire. Common ones like want, expect, ask, decide, help, promise, offer. These typically need the to plus infinitive form.
Like, we expect it to be late.
Right, or he doesn't want anybody to know. The to plus infinitive points towards a future goal or intention connected to that first verb.
Okay, now, the really tricky one. The sources highlighted this, and it confuses everyone. When the little word to is actually followed by a verb ending in the ing, because we normally think to means infinitive, right? To go, to do, to see.
This is such a crucial point for advanced accuracy. The key is recognizing when to is not signaling the infinitive, but is actually acting as a preposition, just like in, for, about, from. And prepositions, if they're followed by a verb, must take the ing form, the gerund. So the listener's job is to spot when to is part of a fixed phrase, a phrasal verb, or a prepositional phrase where it's functioning as a preposition.
Can you give us some clear examples of those phrases where to is a preposition?
Absolutely. The most famous one is probably look forward to. Here, to belongs with look forward. It's part of the phrase. Therefore, you have to say, I'm looking forward to going on holiday, not to go.
Ah, right.
Other really common ones include be used to or be accustomed to doing something, object to doing something, get around to doing something, in addition to doing something. In all of these phrases, to is the preposition linking to the object. And if that object is an action, a verb, it needs the ing form.
So the breakthrough is realizing to isn't the infinitive marker in those cases, it's just the end part of the phrase, like about in, think about going.
Exactly. It's part of a fixed multi-word prepositional unit. Once you see that pattern, the choice becomes automatic. You stop guessing.
That is a huge clarification. Knowing the structure removes the hesitation. It speeds you up.
That's exactly how grammatical knowledge builds fluency. Recognizing the pattern means you don't pause. You just produce the correct form naturally.
Okay, finally, let's talk about getting emotions right. Adjectives ending in ing versus as e. This feels like a core skill because mixing them up can lead to some really awkward, even funny misunderstandings, like saying, I am boring when you mean I am bored.
Oh, definitely. It's crucial for clear communication. And the rule here is wonderfully consistent, thankfully. The ing ending always describes the cause of the feeling, the person, thing, or situation that produces the emotion.
Okay, ing is the cause.
And the ing ending describes the feeling itself, how a person is affected, how they experience the emotion.
Let's use those contrasting pairs from the sources. They make it really clear. Talk about a movie.
Right. We say the movie was disappointing. Why?
Yeah.
Because the movie is the cause of the feeling. So it gets the ing. But if we describe our reaction, we say, we were disappointed with the movie. We experience the feeling, so we get the edd.
And this works for all of them, like interesting versus interested?
Absolutely. If Julia finds politics interesting, well, politics is the cause of the interest, so ATD. Which means Julie herself is interested in politics, who feels the emotion, so AED.
Or a journey was tiring.
So the person who took the journey is tired. A situation is frustrating.
So the people in the situation feel frustrated.
Exactly. It instantly clarifies whether you're talking about the thing causing the feeling or the person experiencing it. It removes that horrible confusion between, say, I am confusing, meaning I cause confusion in others, and I am confused, meaning I feel confusion myself.
Right. It's structural precision about cause and effect, basically. Who's doing the affecting versus who is affected. Hashtag, outtag, outro. Wow, okay. This deep dive has covered, well, a lot of ground, a huge range of structural points. But the focus, I hope, was clear. We zeroed in on those specific pillars that build precision and confidence, the things that take you from feeling almost fluent to sounding genuinely natural.
Hmm.
We deliberately didn't chase thousands of new vocabulary words. We focused on refining the actual architecture, the structure of your English.
And just to recap, we really hit three critical areas today. First, taming those tiny giants using prepositions like at, in, and on systematically, using that point, line, volume idea for both space and time.
Yeah, that was key.
Second, really mastering time by getting that crucial difference between finished past actions, to past simple, and actions with present results, or in unfinished time have done present perfect. And using modals precisely for necessity and regret, like need and have versus could have.
And third, getting that natural flow. Using phrasal verbs correctly, especially remembering that pronouns like it have to go in the middle, turn it on. Plus, nailing those verb patterns, knowing when to use eming or to plus infinitive. And finally, conveying emotion accurately with ASIN, GER versus ADE adjectives.
Right. And it's these seemingly small structures that allow native speakers to communicate so efficiently, so elegantly. Think about that final structural point we touched on from the sources condensing information, using those non-finite clauses.
Oh yeah, instead of saying the full clause, the woman who is talking to Tom.
Right. The elegant shortcut is just the woman talking to Tom. It's quicker, cleaner. Or instead of the gun that was used in the robbery.
Think of the gun used in the robbery, much
Yeah.
tighter.
And that leads to a really interesting final thought, doesn't it? If mastering these small, almost hidden grammatical structures lets professional writers communicate with such conciseness and flair, well, how much faster, how much clearer could your spoken English become if you focused on mastering these kinds of elegant structural shortcuts rather than just constantly chasing more and more vocabulary?
It shifts the focus, doesn't it, away from just collecting words towards understanding how to assemble them efficiently, natively, reducing that hesitation time because the structure is solid.
Exactly. Fluency isn't just about how many words you know. It's very much about the speed and accuracy of your grammatical assembly line, how quickly and correctly you put the pieces together.
So here's a challenge for you listening today. Pick just one rule, one structural point we discussed. Maybe it's the purpose versus building distinction for institutions. Go to work versus go to the work. No, wait, go to the prison.
So go to prison versus go to the prison. Yeah.
Right. Or maybe correctly using need and have or could have. Pick one and actively try to use it. Consciously apply it maybe 5 times in conversation today or tomorrow. Just feel that little boost, that immediate increase in precision and confidence.
Let that structural knowledge really guide you towards more natural, more fluent communication.
Join us next time as we continue digging deep into fluency strategies, all rooted in understanding the solid mechanics of the English language.